Hello, Kensington Knights. So today we're going to continue our discovery of character's perspective and how it influences how the events are described in literature. Your learning target for today is I can figure out the perspective of a character by examining the roles the character plays within the story. You might want to hit pause so that you can set up your Reader's Workshop notebook. Don't forget the page number, the title, the date, the I can statement. Ignore this 8, 9, and 10. It's a mistake. And this is our little insert for today. Whoosh. It's a lot less than what it was yesterday. Okay. And this is focusing on the third thing, which is part of our lesson. Now, what you'll want to do is, this is my example of how to set up the stop and jot, and you'll see how it's organized later on in the lesson. You will want to set these boxes up, okay, but not right now. You'll have a better understanding of why these boxes are where they are once we get into the lesson. But this is how I want your work organized, and this is where you're going to be drawing your conclusion about how the character's perspective influences how the story is told. Okay, on with the mini lesson. So character's perspective helps us see what the character sees and why they see it that way based on their character traits, based on their feelings. And now the third thing is the role that they play within the story. Literature is kind of a great experiment. It allows the reader to take adventures and to try different things without consequences. So we get to explore what it's like to be a character who's just survived a war in Sudan without actually having to go through that traumatic experience ourselves. Okay? So, having said that, when we go along with this journey, we have to look at how this person fits within society inside the story. And that's what the roles are about. So, for example, if we look at the roles that people play within society, my roles are I'm a person who's in their 40s, I'm a mother, a grandmother, a teacher, a daughter, sister, friend, cousin, niece, coworker, and employee, and the list goes on and on and on. I'm also a baker, a person who loves languages, da 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 da. Okay? We don't want to focus about me, we want to focus about the characters. So, all of these roles play a part in how I see things in my life, and it also plays a part in how I participate in society. Fiction writing, for the most part, is based on what it means to be human. Even aliens and animals are given human qualities in stories, so we as readers can relate to them in some way. So these are things to consider so that we can piece together a good picture of what that character's perspective is and how their perspective influences the way the story is told. We want to consider the character traits, which you guys are pretty much pros at that. And then we want to consider the character's feelings, which is what we explored yesterday. And now we want to add that to consider the character's roles within the story. And then finally, we'll come up with a conclusion that reflects how that influences the way the story is told. So this is how your paper is going to be set up. So if you remember back when we were looking at the notebook, if you turn this notebook sideways, you're going to see a graphic organizer that looks like this. So we already had the character traits from yesterday. And then we explored the feelings from yesterday. And now we're going to think of all the roles that Keck plays in this story. So first of all, he's Keck. He's Sudanese. He is a boy. He is formerly a refugee. Now he is an immigrant because he came into our country. He's also an immigrant because he left his country, but that immigrant is spelt with a E instead of an I at the beginning. He's a survivor of war. He's a fifth grader. He's an ESL classmate, a friend to Hannah. He is a cousin to Ganwar. He's a nephew to Ganwar's mother, his aunt. He is a son to his mother, which we don't know where she is right now. He's also a bereaved son, sibling, nephew, and cousin. Well, what does bereaved mean? It means that he's the one that survived while his father passed away, his sibling, Lual, passed away, his uncle, which makes him a nephew, his uncle, which was Ganwar's father, passed away, and his cousin, which are the two sisters of Ganwar that passed away. So all of those people passed away, and he was their son, their sibling, their nephew, and their cousin. Okay? And then he's also learning to become American. So when we take into consideration all these multiple roles that Keck plays within the story, we begin to gain a better understanding of what his perspective is. We're able to look at how much responsibility he has, which is at this point very little. But we know from what we've read about Keck that he's eager to take on responsibility. Okay? We also know that, look at this long list. That's a lot of stuff. And these aren't just little things like the person responsible for cleaning up his bedroom. These are big, huge things within society. It makes me think about what his aunt said. I can't remember which poem it was in, but she talked about how she was tired because all this change that's happened in her life is big work. And so it makes me think the younger you are, the easier it is to adapt. And the older you are, the harder it is to do that big work. So now that I've taken all that information, I want to process it into an answer. And so this is my stop and jot. This is the work that's going on in my head. And so I want you to set something up like this for the character in your Reader's Workshop notebook so that you can begin to process everything that's happening with your character. Keck is a young boy who is in the fifth grade and has little responsibility. He has just come to America and has not had many negative experiences except the cold weather. Based on Keck's perspective, they are doing well in America. This is a key sentence starter that I want you to try to use in your stop and jots. We see the evidence of his positive perspective. So obviously, if your character is not positive, you wouldn't use positive in front of that. So you could use positive or you could use negative. Okay? We see the evidence of his perspective influence the story by, and then that's when you're going to give all your evidence. Okay? The way he reacts to his new home. When Ganwar shows him the rest of the rooms in the apartment, Keck says, there are more. In Keck's eyes, they have a kingdom because they have all the essentials such as a TV machine, a sitting place, and a cooking fire. My theory about Keck's perspective is that he's young, so it is, as his aunt said earlier to him, it is, as his aunt said, easier for him to adapt to the new life in America. That's it. That's what your stop and jot is going to be like. But this is the big work that you will have to do in order to get to that stop and jot. Come to the guided practice today because we're also going to be looking at Ganwar and how he is discouraged. And these are his feelings, which yesterday we discovered he has more negative feelings, but we're still working on a theory as to why. Is it because he was born that way? That's just part of his personality. Is it because of some of the things that have happened to him during the war? Is it also because of some things that have happened to him since he's been in America? Because we have to take into consideration that Yanwar has been in America for a year and a half now, and he's experienced a whole lot of America that Keck has not yet experienced. Although Keck did get a little twinge when they were making fun of him, or at least he felt they were making fun of him when they started mooing as he was drawing a cow on the chalkboard. So look at our theories that are growing about Keck and Ganwar. Keck is hopeful, amazed, surprised, silly, content, and confused. He's an ESL classmate, and he sees himself as being rich. Whereas Ganwar is discouraged. He's an older 11th grader. He's tickled, embarrassed, patient, obligated, mournful, and mature. So today, boys and girls, what are you responsible for? Well, you're to use these suggestions. Make sure you consider the character's traits, the character's feelings, the character's roles within the story, and piece it together to gain a better understanding of the character's perspective. You're going to use these strategies to apply the learning target, and this is what your Stop and Jot should look like based on your choice book. All right, boys and girls, make sure you come to that guided practice so you can get extra practice so that when you get ready to apply it to your book, you know exactly what's expected. Until then, read on.